Hi everyone, I am Alchemystic. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm taking it back to my original style of my manifestation content, where it's just going to be my voice and text on a screen. The reason for this is I really want you to focus on messages with this video, and as well as the visuals and everything else that I was doing with some of my recent videos takes a lot of editing work on my part. Particularly with this video, I want it to be just about the message. Today, we're going to talk about something very important: manifesting better relationships with the people in your life, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, or even your boss. Improving these relationships can completely transform your life. We often focus on romantic relationships, but our platonic connections play just as a significant role in shaping your happiness and success. I've personally experienced this firsthand, especially when I was able to repair my relationship with my son. I'll be sharing my signature method that made this possible, walking you through how you can use it to manifest a better relationship with anyone in your life. But before I get into that, if you would like to work with me, the link to all of my services will be in the description below. I also have a new ebook out that is the top 5 manifestation methods that I've personally used and some of my clients have used with success. Whether you are a beginner or more advanced, this book will be for you, because beginners, I go over everything to introduce you to law of assumption and manifestation in the beginning of the book, and then the rest of the methods, some of them are more advanced. So even if you're an advanced manifestor, this could be for you. Again, link will be in the description for that. I want to go into this a little bit briefly with my story about my son. I went from him absolutely hating me, not wanting to talk to me, and believing someone else in my life at the time that was telling him lies about me. He was fully convinced that I was a horrible mother. He was a mistake. He's a burden to me. I don't care about him, yada, 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 right? And I'm sure some of you listening to this might relate to that. My son was a teenager at the time. He was around 16, 17. Those, again, with teenagers know how that is. Actually, I think he was 15, 16. My apologies. But regardless, I was able to shift this around by using my signature technique that I will be going over here shortly. But before we dive into the method and how it worked for me, let's talk about why and how relationships are actually manifested. If we talk about the law of assumption, everyone is you pushed out. This means that the assumptions and stories you carry about yourself and others determine how they show up in your life, what version of them shows up in your life. For example, if you see someone as distant, disrespectful, or uninterested in you, you might unconsciously reinforce that behavior through your own thoughts and energy. But here's the great news. Just as you manifested those old dynamics, you can also change them. By shifting your assumptions and stories, you can manifest a version of that person who aligns with the kind of relationship you desire. And this applies to all types of relationships, be it family, friends, coworkers, bosses, you name it. The key to changing any relationship lies in your assumptions and thoughts. This is where my signature method has worked for me. And if you resonate with this and would like to apply it, I'm going to go over it. That is Alchemyzing Thoughts technique, is what I like to call it. And this is where it comes in. Alchemizing your thoughts means transforming the old, unhelpful stories about yourself and others into new, empowering ones. Here's how you can do it in just a few steps. Step number 1, of course, you need to identify the current story. Start getting honest about the current story you've been telling about this person or relationship. Write it down if it helps. I personally write everything down, so I recommend that. For example, my coworker is always critical of me, or my dad doesn't listen to me. Step number 2, challenge the story. Ask yourself, is this story absolutely true? And is this story serving me? Spoiler alert, it's usually not. The truth is, these stories are just assumptions that can be rewritten. Step number 3, rewrite the story. Create a new assumption that reflects the relationship you want to have. For example, my coworker respects and values my contributions, or my dad loves listening to my ideas. I'll go over how I did these steps again when I go over the story with my son, and you can use my method entirely with that, but we'll go over that here shortly. Step number 4, affirm the new reality. Use affirmations to affirm the new story. For example, every relationship in my life is filled with love and respect. Or, I always feel valued and heard by others. Step number 5, of course, living from the end. Shocker, right? Visualize and feel what it would be like if the new story were already true. Imagine how you would act, speak, and think in this improved relationship and start embodying that version of you now. I want to take a moment here to share a little bit more about my story with my son and how I actually used this method with this. Like I mentioned in the beginning, my son absolutely hated my guts. He was believing someone else in my life, particularly my ex, that was telling him that I didn't love him, he was a mistake, I'm a bad mother. He had him thoroughly convinced. My son didn't talk to me, he absolutely hated me, he put my ex on a pedestal, all the things that a mother never wants, right? And every day I was faced with this reality. So when people ask me, how do I get past 3D circumstances? I'm telling you right now, I was faced with this because of course he lived with me, right? And it absolutely crushed me that he didn't want to spend time with me like we did before, that we couldn't openly talk like we did before, right? What I did is I thought about all these negative thoughts, right? My son believes my ex. My son hates me. My son doesn't want to talk to me. My son, keep going here. Let it pour out, right? Write everything down. Every negative thought you have around the situation, write it down. So I wrote it all down on a piece of paper. And then I took another piece of paper separate from it, and I contradicted each negative thought with at minimum 2 positive ones. My son hates me, right? My son loves me because he knows how much of a good mother I am. You see how that's 2 in 1? My son loves me, and then because he knows how much of a good mother I am. Just example here, right? My son doesn't talk to me. Me and my son speak every day, and we spend so much time together laughing and having a good time. And you can go more in depth with that, right? Go as in depth as you're feeling. The more, the better with the positives, okay? And then what I did is I read out all the negative ones, and I ripped the pieces of paper up, right? That piece of paper, I ripped it up. And I said, this is no longer my reality. I then took the positive ones and I read all through them, fully embodying and feeling what that would be like right now. And I said, this is my new reality. And then me personally, I took the negative pieces of torn up paper and I burned them. You can dispose of them however you feel is best. You could burn them, you could bury them, you could flush them down the toilet, you could what have you, just throw them away, whatever feels best for you, right? But that's truly what did it. And it didn't happen right away because sometimes those negative thoughts came up, and whenever they did, I'd go back to the practice. Within 3 months, number 1, my ex stopped talking to my son on his own accord, right? My son kept reaching out to him. And then at one point I said, why do you keep reaching out to him? Why don't you wait to see if he reaches out to you? If he cares about you so much, he'll reach out to you. And so that's what he did. And then that's when my ex didn't reach out to him on a very important day for my son. And then he realized. And then that's when he came and talked to me. And we talked everything out. He realized the truth. And that was part of one of my affirmations, is he would discover the truth on his own, right? And we've been buddy ever since. Even now, he's an adult. He's almost 20. And we literally spend almost every day together. We watch shows together. We go out to eat. We talk, everything. and he's always open with me about everything in his life. If that's the type of relationship you want with your child, with your dad, your mom, with a friend, this is a technique that you can use. Now that you've seen how this works, let's talk about how you can apply this method to different kinds of relationships. With family, maybe you feel distant from a parent or sibling. Rewrite the story, my sibling and I are closer than ever and always support each other. With friends, if you've lost touch with a friend, imagine them reaching out and reconnecting with you. Affirm, my friendships are filled with love and laughter. With coworkers or bosses, if there's a tension at work, create a new assumption. My boss recognizes my value and my work environment is peaceful and supportive. You can apply this method to any relationship you want to improve. To recap here, the Alchemyzing Thoughts Method is all about shifting the story you tell about yourself and others. Relationships are a mirror of your inner world, so when you change your assumptions, the outer world naturally flows. Here's an affirmation to help you get started. All of my relationships are filled with love, respect, and harmony. Make it a habit to challenge your old stories, affirm new ones, and embody the energy of the relationship you desire. This is how true transformation happens. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts or your success stories in the comments. Have you ever consciously manifested a change in a platonic relationship? Let me know. And also, if you would like to work with me, the link to all of my services is in the description box below, as well as my ebook if you want to check that out. And if you would like even more tips, techniques like this, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the notifications. I'll be sharing even more methods and stories in the future. So stay tuned. And it's always my assumption that everyone that watches my videos has the best day or night of their lives, and I truly hope that's the case for you. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.